Okay.
Cool.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky, I'll get through this presentation without him flying off my shoulder. And the pun is really, why can't I take my data everywhere with me? So hopefully, data will be OK. I need a clicker. Thank you. So Web 1 was created by the idealists. Web 2 was created by the capitalists. Who is going to create Web 3? All of us. The creators, the corporate organizations, people who are looking into Web 3. But Web 3 is providing us an opportunity to build our realities the way we want it to be, not the centralized ecosystem, but potentially decentralized. And this is why this is not going to happen on its own. And that's why XRSI exists, to make sure that this next iteration of the internet is open, it's equitable, and it's free from harm. Prior to XRSI, I had worked for, any of you may know, Second Life, Linden Lab creators of Second Life. I was the head of security there and started to investigate into these virtual realities, virtual worlds, about what kind of realities we want to create. Right after that, I formed XRSI. And here is some research that I'm going to spend a little bit of time to, since this talk is about safeguarding extended reality, safeguarding the metaverse. And you may have seen several stacks of the metaverse. So back at Linden, I started to think about, OK, here is a virtual world. There is a fully functioning economy, the oldest existing virtual currency. And there were just the revolving doors of regulators, and there is an aspect of creation, there is an aspect of connecting people. So this stack, specifically, this is a research XRSI did with MITRE Corporation, a federal agency that issues CVE numbers, is responsible for lots of cyber attack discoveries, et cetera. So the way we want to think about safeguarding is to organize specifically thinking about ethics, thinking about society, the impact of society, governance models. And then the infrastructure needs safeguarding. So it's a interconnected virtual worlds. How do we safeguard them? How do we eat a big giant elephant? You saw some of those slides previously. It looks like a mess. We have to segment it. And this is how we sort of organize it. So the risk in just creation, let's say we're creating NFT objects or we are creating an avatar, that's limited. But when you bring two people together, connect, then you're unleashing bullying, harassment, the content moderation, those type of risks come into play. When you introduce money, commerce, and in the metaverse, there will be several flavors. Would be centralized, decentralized economy based on potentially blockchain, but also maybe hybrid. You know, what we're seeing Facebook do right now is a very centralized ecosystem, but they're trying to use Polygon to potentially sell NFT via Instagram. So anyhow, several use cases, and those have to be looked at specifically to safeguard, such as Medical XR. We have a Medical XR Council that specifically addresses that. So that's the thing. And so based on this research, some of the global challenges that we have already established. So right after this, I'm headed to one of the United Nations agency in the Middle East to essentially share this. Then I'll go over to Europe to talk about this. I'll have like a 20-day tour and end up at NATO advising some of the defense secretaries of some of the NATO countries specifically why this is so important. And it is actually one of the NATO events with Friends of Europe, the partnership we just did. I invite you all to look to those events. Serious conversations are taking place because I'm a hijabi Muslim. My identity, potentially available to anyone, depending on where I exist in the universe, my life could be at risk. And a lot of the people don't really pay attention to this because, why not? Move fast, let's go to the metaverse. Why is this so important to me? Back in 2016, I was actually working for Facebook doing third-party security. I kind of had the front row seat to these things. And so on the left, you see, this is how the data started to impact. We have to look to the history to understand the future. That is, the left side, you see the Egyptian revolution. When you use cyber, and I'm a cybersecurity professional, I have a master's in cybersecurity. When you use data to bring down a dictator of 30 years, that means you've created a weapon. And Russians were taking notes. They came back around in 2016, where just about 5,000 data points on each American. And this is something that Alexander Nix was touting. Oh, we have 5,000 data points on each American. We've created this, et cetera, et cetera. But look at what's happening now. This is research from Stanford University from 2019. We can now accumulate over 2 million unique body recordings in VR. And that's not even accounting for the facial tracking, the eye tracking, the gaze pose, all kinds of tracking. This is just the traditional tethered headset. Over 2 million unique body recordings. So where are we going with this? We are practically swimming in all sorts of data types. And we need to safeguard that data. That data that creates that unique digital twin, your XR data, is something we need to safeguard. How are we going to do that? Just this week, ICO UK introduced potential guidance on biometric data. They have kind of described way more than just it being sensitive data, but XRSI, we call it biometrically inferred data. The clinicians who use these technologies, they need to know that these devices now know how sleepy they are, when they are sleepy, what's happening with their psychology. They need to know. People need to be informed of all that. And as I told you, I'm a cybersecurity professional. We've been together with several, over 150 advisors and volunteers studying this domain for now 3 years, dedicatedly. We have established the attack surface has expanded from our networks, nodes, and servers to our brain, to our spaces, our living room. And that's what we need to safeguard when it comes to extended reality. Not only do we have cyber attacks, traditional, we also discovered novel ways where people can modify configuration of XR devices, experiences, application to move a subject without their knowledge. Tracker attack, chaperone attack. Hijack some of your cameras from the device, and potentially even overlay stuff on top of the content that you're seeing. One of the ones that I want to point out, and there has been massive explosion because of the stable diffusion algorithms in the AI space. And I don't know if this video is going to play, but let's see. Never mind. So this particular attack I'm pointing out, this is really, really serious, where at the bottom you see the log for the AI. Essentially, a researcher, Simon Wilson, is pointing out, you see the text to video. We are now actually seeing, literally, just this week, text to VR. On 23rd of March, Zuckerberg had pointed out BuilderBot, which basically you can speak your world into existence. When you're able to do that, what we can also do, something like a SQL injection. Now you can manipulate your AI algorithms to produce something that you did not, that the subject may not have intended. So you can supersede those instructions. So our virtual reality, our perceived reality is hackable, especially when we're talking about these type of devices. And why is that important to me? It presents a dilemma. It presents a double-bind problem. Is the information problem that impact can't be understood until this technology is fully materialized. And once it's fully materialized, it's almost impossible to undo the impact. The AI biases that go into algorithms, we're talking about that. So that's why we have to intervene now and anticipate. Think about what that UGC has an impact on human being, on their minds. We need to think about governance. So all the C-levels in the group, you have to think about these things because it impacts a lot of us. And so we are thinking about that. We have been building, in fact, in 2020, we launched XRSI Privacy and Safety Framework. If you haven't already downloaded, we're actually working on the version 2.0 that encompasses even blockchain technologies, and we're going to launch that pretty soon. And there are specific frameworks in the works for medical XR, privacy and safety framework, for children, especially for children. Because that 13+ checkbox, that's not going to work with the metaverse. We need age-appropriate content, and that has to be a shared responsibility, not just parents, but the companies. And I'm really, really honored that we are going to essentially enforce this via collaboration with several regulators. And we've already started. These are some of the names that have already solicited XRSI's advice. I've left like at least 50 of them out. But I'm pointing out from the White House to the World Economic Forum to several senators, etc. So lastly, how can you potentially be part of what we are trying to do here? We are trying to safeguard the metaverse. Is just this one thing now will allow you to at least get introduced to our mission. So we started this intervention 2 years ago, XR Safety Week. We've now expanded the scope to Metaverse Safety Week. I invite you all to come together with me. We'll have Congress people, we'll have several regulators, ICO UK, Australia's regulator, Australia's Safety Commissioner, Human Rights Commissioner of Australia. We even have an astronaut who uses NFT, who is the first African-American woman who took the Inspiration 4 to space. So we have several of these amazing speakers who are going to step into virtual reality. And then potentially, okay, now we have a congresswoman who experiences this firsthand, and now she's involved with COPA reform, Children Online Privacy Reform. So this is an intervention directed to governments, stakeholders of Metaverse, and I invite you all to be part of it however you can. You can organize an event, you can issue a tweet, you can do all of that. So I will leave you with that, and this is my information. If you want to get connected with XRSI together, we do have a potential to safeguard the metaverse. Thank you.
Thank you.